All right, and we'll start with this. This is a little bit of a changing of the guard in the league. You know, the league for many, many years was running games and tough defenses trying to get through guys that look like that. And then we just went through this golden era of SEC football when it comes to quarterback play. But now Manziel is off as a first-round draft pick, and Zach Mettenberger is gone, and Aaron Murray is gone with all his records from Georgia. And Alabama's got to find a new quarterback, and Connor Shaw's leaving South Carolina. So we think about where we are with SEC quarterbacks, and you look at a case, say, like Texas A&M, where they're going to be turning the keys to a Ferrari either to a redshirt freshman or an early enrollee true freshman. How critical of a concern is that when you lose all the experience, you lose the superstar, and now you have to downshift to an inexperienced player? Do you fall off the table edge? Where are they?
Well, there's definitely room for concern. I definitely think when you have an experienced, really good quarterback and you lose one and you're moving on to someone else. But I think it's important as a coaching staff to do your job and play to that next player's strengths. And so many times you'll see coaches try to fit the next guy into what the older guy did. Well, I don't think that's good coaching. I think good coaches, they play to their players' strengths. And I think you'll see that this year in the SEC with a lot of new young quarterbacks. If they're more athletic, get them out of the pocket, make them feel comfortable early in games so that they can get that confidence, get their swagger up, and then understand what it's like to play in the SEC. And I think it comes down to coaching. I don't think it always comes down to ability. I think it comes down to coaching and putting players in a position to succeed.
You had the luxury, obviously, of having a veteran quarterback when you stepped on campus, and you can come in and do your thing here and there.
And it definitely helps. You get that experience. You get plays in big games. You know what it's like to feel that pressure. And when you understand that, you say, okay, I understand this moment. I understand this pressure. I understand the hype. It's not something that I can't handle. I can handle whatever's thrown at me. And it gives you a confidence that you really need to perform well in the SEC.
Yeah, what do you know about playing quarterback? Bring the question.
Well, yes, we were just with Kevin Sumlin. Marcus and I were down Destin Ford, and we were with Texas A&M's head coach Kevin Sumlin the other day. And we talked to Kevin about this. He is the #1 recruit in the country coming in this year as an early enrollee, went through spring. He is Kenny Held, is very athletic, and they just got a verbal commitment from the #1 quarterback, dual threat guy who's going to be there next year. Life after Manziel, where is Texas A&M?
A&M, me and you talked about this, Joe. All right, nobody pull out nothing and throw it up here at me, but they could actually be a better offense.
How so? Without Johnny Manziel?
And I'll tell you why, because you want me to tell you? I'll tell you why. All right. So when you have a spread offense like some of them runs, and you have a quarterback that's all about distribution of the ball in these type of offenses gives defenses fit. Johnny's margin of error was very small as a quarterback with how much he did on the field. Now, not taking anything away from him, was a great quarterback. Made a lot of great plays as opposed to bad plays. But Kyle Allen, this freshman that they have, big guy, 6'4", athletic, still can move around the pocket. But with the guys that's around him and the weapons that he has, if he can be stationary in the pocket, deliver the football on time, Texas A&M will be more dangerous to me because you'll have more guys involved.
Any Bama fans here today? Roll time. A.J. McCarron's gone. Jameis Winston's backup last year, Jacob Coker, who was a really good-looking prospect, now transfers over to Alabama. He just got to campus 2 weeks ago. Can they fit and plug a guy like that in and not lose a step as a national title contender?
Yes, without a doubt. Alabama, top to bottom, they probably have the best recruits year in and year out of any school in the country. And their depth is so good at every position that they can plug a guy in and not miss a step. Given A.J. McCarron was a really good player and he had an awesome college career, and it's not to take anything away from him, but they have so many players around him that they can come in and they can fill those roles and they can take pressure off of Coker, whoever the quarterback is going to be, and early on in the season until they get to big games. But what A.J. did so well is in those big games, his number wasn't always called, but when it was called, he really stepped up and made a lot of big plays in big games. Versus LSU, when they're down, he hasn't run a 2-minute drill. He made big plays when his number was called, and he had competitive excellence in those moments, and you got to give him credit for that. And we'll have to see, whoever fills his shoes, he's got to be ready to do that. It might not be all year long, but there will be 1 or 2 moments in the season where he'll have to step up, and we'll see if he's ready.
And they have a new offensive coordinator down there. I don't know if you folks are familiar with Lane Kiffin.
Uh-oh.
How how is that marriage going to work?
Let me tell you something.
Lane Kiffin working for Nick Saban?
Guys, I felt just like y'all when I heard he signed with Alabama, okay? Because I had the opportunity to spend 4 years with Nick Saban, and you're talking about the polar opposite of coaches, the serious nature to the playing nature, coming from the West Coast. Saban, that wasn't necessarily the guy that I thought he would bring in to coach his offense. But one thing Lane has done, and granted, I know how y'all feel about him, he has produced points as offensive coordinator for a long time. And Saban has reached the point and the level as a coach that you really can't question the decision making that the things that he's doing to make his football team better. Because when you win 3 national championships within the span of 5 years, you can do whatever you want. He can come in here and take this mic out of my hand and start doing this show with you, Joe. But it's definitely, I think Coker coming over is more of a type of guy that he likes to have as quarterback. But let's not forget, all right, we're talking about Alabama, and we're talking about a school that's going to play great defense. At the end of the day, they're going to play great defense. T.J. Yeldon as a running back. These running backs help these young quarterbacks out a lot. And you saw that with Todd Gurley last year. When he went down, Murray struggled at Georgia because these guys, it's about more than a quarterback. I'm sorry, Tim. But I know guys like to talk about quarterbacks, but these are complete teams that we're talking about. And I think they'll be fine at Alabama because of defense.
They'll be fine, and Saban does indeed have a lot of job security and a nice big paycheck to go along with it with that boost in the salary.
Looking forward to that.
On the other side of it, you can't ignore what's talked about with the fans, Tim, but if anybody's on that hot seat, and I hate to go down that road, but your alma mater obviously is coming off a 4-8 year. Now, the year before, they went to the Sugar Bowl, and the recruiting's been great. They had all the injuries last year with 10 starters out with season-ending injuries. Will Muschamp went out and hired an offensive coordinator himself. Kurt Roper, who comes over from Duke but does have SEC lineage prior to that. Jeff Driscoll's back at quarterback after being injured. Where is Florida, and are they primed for a potential bounce-back year?
I absolutely think they are. I think they have a lot of talent. You look at 2 years ago, like you said, they're 11-1, should have been 12-0. They had 5 turnovers and lost to Georgia. So they have a lot of talent. They know how to win. Last year, they had a lot of injuries, so it made the year hard on them. But I think the hire of Kurt Roper will be a great hire. He did a great job at Duke, and he's playing with with athletes that aren't the same caliber that they're going to have at the University of Florida. And so, coming in with Jeff Driscoll, being a veteran, having played, 2 years, a lot of experience, and putting him in a position to succeed. I don't necessarily think the offense he was in was best suited for him. I think right now, being in the spread, having the ability to use his legs, use his athletic ability, use his size, will give him an advantage this year. And I really expect Florida to bounce back and have a great season. And you look at Will Muschamp, and he's a lot of people have had some knocks on him, but he's a great coach. And you look at his defense, every single place he's been, even when he was at Auburn, he played me when I was at the University of Florida. They gave us fits. He's a really good defensive coordinator, and I think he's going to have our defense really solid till our offense kind of picks it up. And I think Jeff Driscoll is going to have a bounce back season and do really well.
The defense is so talented. Vernon Hargraves is a lockdown corner and talented with Fowler on the defensive line. To your point, coordinators make a difference. He was one of the best defensive coordinators Muschamp was when he was a coordinator. They have that to lean on. The coordinator making a difference, you mentioned the spread offense. Florida's going to be more up-tempo, and they're going to spread it out. Which gets to the great debate of what's been going on in the league, is the trend now has been towards up-tempo and spread, even though 2 of the kings of the hill are still smash mouth, especially the guy down there in Tuscaloosa. Is it all cyclical, or is this where the SEC is going and will stay?
I think it's where the SEC is going, and I think it will stay there for a long time, because I think you look at teams that might not have the same recruiting power that an Auburn or an LSU or Florida has, and how are they going to compete with the great teams? Well, what they're going to do is they're going to spread teams out. They're going to get a few great players. They're going to put them in space and hope they give them a chance to win. That is the best way for Vanderbilts and Kentuckys and teams like that aren't going to recruit with Alabama and Florida and LSU. That's the best chance to give these teams an opportunity to upset them. And they won't be great year in and year out, but they'll have those years like in 2007 when Kentucky was #2 in the country, and Vanderbilt the last few years, they had really good teams and they were able to, to do some things really well, but they're not going to compete in recruiting, so they have to find another way to compete. And I think that's a spread offense. It gives you a chance. It gives you an opportunity opportunity to get a few great athletes, put them in space, and give them an opportunity to win big games for you.
Absolutely. I think it levels the playing field across the whole league, because if you play smash mouth football in the SEC and you go out and recruit these teams that you just mentioned, the Alabamas, the Auburns, the Floridas, LSUs, they've always been able to recruit big athletic guys. And the old way of SEC football was to line up, put 9 in the box, and let's go to war for the whole game. Now guys are getting in space, and you do even the playing fields. You see it in the NFL also. Teams are spreading teams out to get mismatches. But in this conference, it will recycle at some point. They will get back to lining up in I formation and playing smash mouth football. But like Tim said, it'll be a while before that happens, because it evens the playing field.
Tim mentioned Vandy in passing there in conversation. Tell the good folks of Nashville who you had barbecue with.
Oh my God, I had lunch with Derek Mason yesterday, and I love him as a coach. You guys have a steal. He's up to speed on what college football is all about right now. He's up to speed on how to relate to these players, bring in good recruits for this university. And one thing about him is he's to the cuff. And you respect that about coaches. I played under Saban, I played under Bill Parcells. It's no bend, no break. It's his way or you don't play. And most coaches like that have a bunch of success. So we had the opportunity to have lunch with him, and he didn't want to. These are how head coaches are, okay? You start asking them questions about, Coach, what the team look like this year? We got a few guys that can play, and we're going to put it to see what we can put out on the field. Coach, what's your quarterback situation looking like? Oh, he guy's pretty good. We're going to see what he can do in the summer. We'll find out. They don't want to disclose this information, but you could tell, and I don't know if you felt it too, Joe, he has a level of excitement about what's happening at Vanderbilt right now. And coming off 2 9-win seasons back-to-back doesn't hurt. James Franklin left you guys in great position, in a great situation.